Guys, fantasy recapped here. A single look from this young man can kill a full-grown man in just a few seconds. Today I will be recapping the 2020 romance comedy, Looks That Kill. As the movie begins, we see a young man named Max. Max is a boy with an exceptional ability of killing people with his good looks in just a few seconds. So he covers his face with bandage all the time to avoid killing more people. Apparently, Max is with a psychologist who tries to understand his situation. The psychologist is skeptical about the fact that Max can kill people with just his face. He asks him to remove his bandage so he can determine what is going on, but in no time his body laid lifeless on the floor. Max returns back home with his parents and his best friend, Dan. As they take their dinner, Dan starts talking about a dating website he had been using for the past few days. This catches Max's parents' attention. They encourage him to give it a try since he has been spending too much time alone. The next morning, Max and his mom visit a hospital. While at the waiting room, Max goes to get magazine but finds none. A girl sitting to his left called Alex lends him her magazine. Max tries to start a conversation with Alex, but shortly after, it reaches Max's turn to see the doctor. The next evening is Valentine's Day, and so Max's best friend Dan sets him up on a date with a beautiful girl. Max gets nervous since that is his first date, and his date, Erica, ignores her by constantly checking her phone. Max gives Erica a handkerchief which has her name embroiled on it. Soon after, they are approached by Craig, who apparently is a bully. He insists Max shows him his face but Max refuses to do so. Accidentally, Max spills the drinks he ordered for Erica and himself. Craig takes this opportunity to clean the table with the bandage covering his face. Erica is disappointed and she leaves at that very moment. In the next scene, Max is seen standing on the edge of bridge with the intention of killing himself. He is approached by the girl from the hospital, Alex. Alex offers Max jelly beans, and to his surprise she insists he rather jumps from a higher bridge. The next scene shows Alex who has visited the retirement home with Max. The friends meet Esther. Esther is curious as to why Max's face is covered with bandage. Alex tells her he just fell on a brick, and also he tried to jump from a bridge because he is depressed. Esther calls her friend Rosemary and tells her Alex thinks he is depressed. Later that evening, they all have dinner and talk about life, make everyone, including Max, happy. The next morning, Max goes to stand close to the bridge hoping to see Alex again. Hopefully, Alex shows up and they both admit to stalking each other. Max suggests Alex skip school and spend some time with him. They sit together in a bathtub filled with jelly beans as they keep each other company. Max tells Alex that he hides his face because it's lethally attractive and kills people. Alex also tells him her heart expands every time she feels good or bad emotions, and so she wears on her chest a monitor to measure her heart rate and heart size. The two friends visit the movie theater to watch a movie, getting drunk in the process. They move to Max's home and begin to get intimate. They are interrupted by Max's parents who return back home very shortly. Max's mom and dad are dumbfounded by the fact that Max is finally acquainted by a girl. They introduce themselves and give Alex a warm welcome. Also, they introduce Max to Yoshin, a foreign exchange candidate they brought home from the exchange program. Yoshin is a spoilt rich kid who behaves in a strange manner. Max's mom asks him keeps her company but he is hesitant to do so. The next day, Max, Alex, Yoshin, Dan and his girlfriend go camping. Dan's girlfriend, who is fond of taking pictures, asks Alex to take a picture of Dan and herself. She alerts Alex she is bleeding from her palm and Max dresses the wound nicely for her. Later that night, Dan and Alex have their first kiss under a blanket. Max and Dan drag outside the Christmas tree. They both go back inside, leaving the tree in front of the garage since Dan has a splinter. The spoiled rich kid tosses her cigarette onto it, setting it on fire on their return. At the hospital, Dan shoots his shots at an attractive woman who is treating his wounds for him, but she deliberately ignores his efforts. While leaving the hospital, Dan sees Alex together with Mom. She tells her mom, who looks worried about their relationship, that they just work at the same place and on different shifts. The pair show up the retirement home the next day. Esther tells them her best friend, Rosemary, is seriously ill and she is afraid it could be her time. Alex gets emotional and her nose starts to bleed, so she leaves the room. Alex asks Max to show Rosemary his face so that her pain can come to an end. Max is reluctant to do so at first, but he proceeds to show Rosemary his lethally attractive face, causing her to pass on at that very moment. At a restaurant, Dan gets the waitress Valencia, who turns out to be his schoolmate, to go to the spring fling with him. Dan convinces Max to also come with Alex to the dance, but he tells him they've not been talking. Dan forcefully takes his phone and texts Alex to come to the dance. She seemed to be typing a reply, but she does not send any message. That same day, Max goes to her house. Alex's condition had gotten worse and she has dosage of medicine has been increased. Alex agrees to the request Max made, though the text message to go to the dance. They get to the school dance and they start to dance, but Alex starts bleeding from her nose due to the emotions involved. Dan asks Alex, who is trying to get something to eat, where Alex is. But before he could respond, they are confronted by Valencia's ex-boyfriend, Craig. Valencia tells him he is with Dan now. Out of anger, he forcefully uncovers Max's face to Valencia, thus killing her in the process. Alex is seen being taken custody by the police. On his way, he sees Alex in a critical condition. He tries to talk to her before he is taken in, but his requests were ignored by the police. He is kept in jail for some time, but he is soon bailed out by his mom. Soon after his release, he goes to see Alex at the hospital. When he gets there, he asks Alex for her medicine, but he finds out there is actually no medicine for her condition, and she has only been tricking him with a heartburn drug. Alex asks Max to show her his face so that she can hopefully pass on. This breaks Alex's heart and he runs out of the hospital. Back at his home, he goes into his room and smashes his head continuously against a brick out of despair, and so his parents come over to calm him down. Over the last few days, Alex tries to reach him, but he ignores all her calls. Back at Dan's school, the students send pictures of candles instead of candles at Valencia's memorial because Valencia's favorite thing was to text. While Dan and Max talk, Dan discovers that Max has not been talking to Alex. He advises Dan to see her, otherwise he might lose the chance to say goodbye. Max listens to Dan's advice and pays a visit to Alex. He apologizes for not wanting to see her. Max, seeing Alex suffer, finally uncovers his face to her. Alex, who had her eyes closed initially, finally opens up, but surprisingly, she didn't die as every other person who had seen Max's face. She gets too emotional around Max and her alarm goes off. Max gets her help and she is stabilized by the nurses at the hospital. That night, Max sleeps in a couch right next to Alex in her ward. When he woke up the next morning, Alex wasn't on her bed and he discovers she has passed on peacefully. In the end, charges concerning Valencia's death against Max and even Craig were dropped by the jury. After trial, the publicity from the case made national headlines, and people hoped Max could help them the same way Alex did.